Hello, everyone. If you are just joining us, you are in the right place. This is the first and inaugural session of LucidLink Magic Hour. We're going to give everybody about a minute or so to join. And if you are joining now, and if you can hear me and see me, it would be lovely if you could put in the chat where you are from. So with that, I'm just going to maybe wait about another minute, and then we will kick things off. Very excited for today's session. All right, I see Indianapolis, Midtown Manhattan, excellent. Los Angeles, welcome. London, fantastic. Barcelona, I'm going to be in Barcelona in August, fun fact. Germany, welcome. St. Paul, fantastic. Another Londoner, 3 Londoners. All right, London is winning. London is winning. That's good news. Cologne, Germany, welcome and thank you for joining. We're going to give it another 30 seconds or so, and then we will begin. Welcome, Washington, D.C. Can you vote twice for Manhattan? Sure. I'm in Brooklyn, so I get 3 votes. Isn't London always winning? Yes, London is always winning.
We'll find out in another hour, I guess.
We'll find out in another hour, exactly. Oh, I should say where I am. Well, as I said, I'm in Brooklyn, New York City, and I am Director of Product Marketing for LucidLink. Another 15 seconds, and then we're going to get cracking. All right, I think we can get started. Well, once again, thank you for joining. I'm really excited about today's session. You're in luck. This is a treat. Today is the first and inaugural session of LucidLink Magic Hour. The team at LucidLink is delighted to have this opportunity to host our friends and partners from Projective. I'm going to begin by talking a little bit about what LucidLink Magic Hour is in the first place and why we think this is going to be super exciting. This is a series that we're going to have in perpetuity, and we're going to be hosting this pretty much once a month, if I can just advance my slide. So what is Magic Hour? Magic Hour is an entirely new live event series presented by the team here at LucidLink. We're excited that this is going to be a monthly learning experience focusing on a specific tool or workflow. And the events for Magic Hour are going to be hosted by guest artists, guest contributors, guest technologists who will have the opportunity to showcase anything that they are passionate about. So at LucidLink, we really want to give a lot of freedom to our guest hosts to talk about pretty much anything that is meaningful to them in the general context of the work that they do. So it will be guest artists, video editors, graphic designers, visual effects artists, musicians, technology companies such as Projective. And the subject will be about what they love to do and how the tools that they either develop or the tools that they use help them do the work that they do. And LucidLink is going to be hosting this series, and we're going to take kind of a little bit of a back seat and let the host do their thing. We're in the background kind of helping to connect the dots and make the magic happen. That's what we love to do with our partners and our customers, and that's what we do at a technology level and at a product level. So that's LucidLink Magic Hour. As part of LucidLink Magic Hour, the guests will be once a month, but I will be doing live demos literally every week, with the exception of today. Every Thursday at 12 p.m. New York City time, I will be hosting live demos, yours truly. It will be an informal Zoom session. Anyone can sign up with their email address and join and get an overview of what LucidLink is. So if you've never used it, never heard of it, maybe you've tried it, didn't get very far, had questions. It doesn't really matter what your level of experience or expertise is. Please join these demos. We will absolutely share a registration link on a landing page on our website so that you can sign up. That'll be literally every Thursday, and once a month will be a guest contributor. All right, I think I've done enough talking already. I want to hand the microphone to my friend and colleague, Derek Barlow, CEO of Projective, who's going to talk about a little bit about Projective's journey, and then hand the baton to Marco, who will be doing a demo of their platform, Strawberry Skies.
Thanks a lot, Matt. That's awesome. I'm really honored. It's a privilege to be the first guinea pigs for the first Magic Hour. I love being the first. So for those of you that don't know me, yes, I'm Derek Barlow. I'm the CEO of Projective. And for those of you that don't know Projective, We are a software vendor based out of Germany. And you may have heard of our prior name of the company, which was Flavorsys. We were founded in 2012, but basically what we realized was that the branding of the company didn't really align with our value for our customers, which is all about making projects easier and solving post-production projects. So we use the word project so often, we decided to just call the company that, and we rebranded in 2019 to Projective. Some of the products you may have heard, though, that we have a entry-level product called Osiris, which provides bin locking functionality for Media Composer. Essentially, this enables you to do Nexus-style collaboration workflows, but on standard IT storage. Historically, that was NAS-based storage on-prem, but also you can obviously do that with LucidLink, so that if you're trying to just spin up a quick production in the cloud and you want to just work on LucidLink, you can actually take advantage of bin locking just like you were working on something like Nexus Edge, for instance. Now, of course, a lot of customers who are thinking about collaboration and Media Composer project sharing, once you really dig into the details, what you really need is something to help structure the flow of content and projects through the facility. And that's where Strawberry comes in. It is a application independent, storage agnostic post-production framework. So what that means is you can use this common framework for all of your post-production projects, regardless of the application. And historically, that was that, and by the way, we're talking about not just Media Composer or Premiere or DaVinci, but also things like, InDesign or Illustrator or Pro Tools, right? So you can really have one common framework for orchestrating the flow of assets and projects through the facility as they go. Now, Matt, you can go to the next slide. Historically, Strawberry was an on-premise tool because the latency requirements of the video applications and content required high-performance storage on-premise. Well, with the advent of LucidLink, of course, you're able to actually get that same level of performance and do high-res video editing from anywhere, from cloud storage. So that enabled us to kind of port Strawberry as a cloud-first SaaS model where we can actually host the entire infrastructure for you in a cloud platform based on the technology that LucidLink can provide from a storage perspective. Now, we talk about collaboration platform, and you guys talk about collaboration platforms, and everyone talks about collaboration platforms. That should be the Oprah meme right now, but basically, everyone's talking about different things when they're talking about collaboration. And I think it's very important to note that there's a storage component of collaboration, and then there's a kind of project framework aspect of collaboration, meaning who should have access to what project at what time, and what structure should that project take, and what's the flow of assets through that project into versioning and review and approval, and then ultimately to delivery and archival. You really need a kind of framework if you're going to actually produce at scale, because otherwise you end up getting stuck with a lot of these manual processes and creating manual access to manual folders and manual shares in the file space. And what Skies can really do is provide that framework, those guardrails, so that you can produce at scale. And at a very high level, we're adding control features in the sense of you can control who has access to what at what time, and not just at a file space perspective, but also from a granular project perspective. Freelancers coming in, for instance, can only be granted access to a specific project, and that will also add security features to this, because we are also controlling the physical access to the LucidLink volume, so we can increase the security of the post-production facility. We also provide visibility capabilities as well. So you'll see you have a visual search of the production storage and all of the content that's in your projects. So you have a visual look into where things are, and not just from a client, but also from a web browser as well. And then when I talk about usability as well, which is what we can add to LucidLink, we're completely application independent. So your users aren't having to think about interacting with the storage in any way. They basically use Strawberry Skies to create their projects, and then they are presented with the structure for that project, which you'll see in a moment, by the way, regardless of the creative application. So that's enough from me. There's like no worse way to sell an asset management application than talking about it. So on that note, I'd like to hand it over to Marco so we can actually show it to you.
Cool, thank you. Yep, so I'm sharing my screen here. Can you see it?
Yes.
Perfect.
Yes.
Perfect. Cool. Thanks. Yeah, thank you, Derek. Hi, I'm Marco, and I'm co-founder and product manager and product owner here at Projective. And it's nice. First of all, it's an honor to be here, being like the first guinea pigs to actually go through this. I'm a little bit nervous, to be honest with you, but I guess that's normal in this situation. And yeah, I show you the good stuff here today. I show you Strawberry Skies in conjunction with LucidLink. So the whole idea is based off, we wanted to give people the ability and companies the ability to easily manage their productions, right? Their projects, their media assets, their freelancers, right? Without having to go through the hassle of like managing permissions on a file system basis for everything, right? But at the same time, giving them additional tools for archival and for, reviews and approval workflows. So what you see here in front of you is the Strawberry Skies client application. And this client application is installed on any machine that does do editing or let's say creative work, right? Like content creation. You can also access all of this through a web browser. If you want to do review and approval workflows or just some browsing and tagging, that's fine. But if you want to do the actual heavy lifting, you do it with this client application. So this client application is communicating with that server that is in the cloud. And that server is actually the one that does all the really heavy lifting, like media indexing, proxy file encoding, permission setting. We have done a super deep API integration into LucidLink, and this actually goes to a point where we are puppeteering the file space in the background, right? So the moment you're starting this client application here, it will actually launch the LucidLink application as well, and it will lock you into LucidLink. So what this means is that you don't need separate credentials for Strawberry Skies and for LucidLink. You basically use your single sign-on or a tool or your local user credentials in Skies, and this will then also manage the LucidLink credentials in the background. So I have started the Strawberry Skies application right here, and you can see we have this volume popping up here, which is Skies Drive, and you can see on the icon, that's LucidLink. So the underlying, of course, is a LucidLink file space. But if we double click here, oh, what's that? There's nothing in there, right? And this is one of the aspects here that makes the system so secure. So although I have started the Strawberry Skies client application, the Lucid file space initially is empty. And this is because I haven't logged in yet, right? I haven't logged in the Strawberry application. So as I've mentioned earlier, you can use your Azure AD or Okta for the sign-in, but you can also simply create local user accounts. You can also have a mix and match of both, right? So if you're a company that uses single sign-on throughout your organization, great. But sometimes you want to add freelancers or external users that don't have single sign-on accounts, and you can easily create these local accounts within the system and simply invite them to specific projects. So I'm logging in here with my local user account, and I hope I get this right here immediately. Yeah, it looks good. So what's happening is here, I'm now logged into the Strawberry Skies client application, and I immediately have visibility on the projects that I have access to. So first of all, you can see that there's no project open right now. Below this, we have a search field where we can search for projects or for assets, right? So we can easily switch between these different search layers. And in here, we have all the projects that are accessible to me as a user, right? That's important. I'm not an admin. I'm a normal user within the system. I have limited visibility to projects here. And as I've mentioned earlier, because we are puppeteering the LucidLink file space in the backend, all the permissions that you're setting here on a project basis will immediately reflect on the LucidLink file space. So you don't need to go into the LucidLink configuration console to assign permissions or anything. This is all done through the API integration in the backend of all of this, right? So again, I have a bunch of projects in here, and of course I can search for projects. So for example, I have a project here that's called a shared content library. Can simply select this. I can dive into the project here and I can browse the project. And what you see here are proxy or preview files generated by the Sky server that is running in the cloud, right? So for everything that you ingest into your projects or put into your project, like any media, we will create these proxies in the background. So you have a visual search through the content, no matter whether this project is on your active LucidLink file space or whether it's in an S3 archive, for example, like Wasabi or AWS or Backblaze, right? And I will show you how this works in a little bit. But before I do this, I would like to set up a project and just guide you through this process, because once you've seen it, it's really becomes really clear. So a project in our world is a container, and this container includes project and media files for whatever you're working on. Might be like a show or an episode of a series or a movie, right? So what a project is entirely up to you. So what I can do here is I can click on a new button, and now this will get me to this metadata window, right? Where I can say, okay, I'm setting up a defined metadata structure for all my users. And this metadata structure should include like a house ID or a production ID or a production number, whatever you want to call it, right? This can be generated by our system here, but this could also be something that you put in here, right? We have an example industry here, so we could actually go ahead and say, okay, this is, for example, for advertising. Again, all of what you're seeing here is set up by me because that's a demo system, right? So you can design this in any way you want. We have a list of clients now in here, one of these clients being Wonka. We have some folks from London here, so they will be very happy now, I guess. So we select Wonka, and then we have Wonka-specific products, right? So in this case, we are, of course, going with pixie sticks, whatever that is, right? And you can immediately see that, this is a dynamic metadata view. So whatever I'm putting in here or whatever I choose in terms of drop-down menus, for example, I'm getting consecutive options depending on what I choose here, right? And now I can say, okay, this is our magic hour session, right? So what you see up here is now the project name being generated by the system. This is also a very cool way to make sure that all the project names that exist are following a specific standard, a specific scheme. But we're not only doing this for the name, but also for the content of the project, right? So as I click here on template, you can see I have set up a whole bunch of templates here for my purposes. And I just say, okay, I'm going with the Creative Cloud template. The template includes predefined folder structure, maybe even media files, definitely project files that you can set up specifically, so that when the project gets created and the template gets selected, that all of this folder structure and preset files are inside of that new project. Okay, so now we click next. We can add a description here if we want to. We don't have to. And now we can assign this project to people, right? So you can see here in my example, I've set up a whole bunch of user accounts and we have a bunch of different teams in here, right? So I can very specifically decide which teams in my organization, for example, should have access to this particular project, or I could just provide user access on an individual basis, right? I have all these choices. For those of you who came in later, everything that I'm doing here in terms of permissions will immediately reflect on the LucidLink file space in the backend. So you don't have to go to the LucidLink configuration to set all of this manually again. The server, the Sky server that is running in the cloud, takes care of all of that for you in the backend, right? Okay, so now the last thing that we want to do is we want to also select a quota team. So we say, okay, the Lucid team is the quota team for this project. So you're probably aware that since very recently, LucidLink has introduced file space-wide quotas. So you can say, hey, my file space should not be larger than 5 terabytes, for example, right? But we're going a step further here. We say, okay, within these 5 terabyte, and this is an example, you can actually assign team-based quotas. So you could say, okay, my graphics team gets like 100 gigabytes. That's probably a little bit, not too much, but, or 500 gigabytes. And the system will keep track of what each team is using internally. And you could also use this for billing purposes with your clients, for example, right? Because we keep track for you basically on what exactly the storage consumption is on that LucidLink file space. So then as we create that project, the actual magic is now happening in the backend. So first of all, that server that is running in the cloud is creating that project on the LucidLink file space and is setting the permissions accordingly. Right? So we don't have to do this. So everything that I just decided or I gave access to now has access to this project once they log in. So let's actually have a look into Finder. And you can see here that we have just created like a shortcut that's called mounted projects, right? And in here, you can see that this magic hour session is now visible in here. Of course, we can open up multiple projects at the same time, And if we go in here, you can see that there already is a whole structure in here, right? We have like a few Premiere project files, an After Effects project, a few folders, right? All of this is coming from the template that I've selected earlier and that you can freely configure right away. So one thing before I forget this, because I tend to forget this, is that all that I'm doing here in terms of like project creation, you can also do through our API. So if you're using like a project or production management tool such as Monday, for example, right? We can actually define webhooks or REST API calls that set up the corresponding projects within Skies. So you have a single point of managing your projects. Okay, so as you can see, the client application is smart enough to recognize, hey, I found a Premiere and an After Effects project in here. And by the way, we will also show Avid. So which one do you want to open? And we say, yeah, we want to go with Premiere. So all we have to do here really is to double click on the project, and this will immediately launch the Premiere application for us, opens up that project, and here we are, right? So super simple. You can see also the Premiere project already has a little bit of configuration here on the left-hand side. We have a couple of bins in here, but here on the top left, you can actually see that we have a panel built into Premiere that gives you this visual search that I was talking about earlier. And this is really great because what you can do from here is you could say, okay, you know what? I have a list of the projects that I have access to, right? And now I can search for my production number, or I can search for the name of the project. I could also search for the person who last opened up the project. Simply dive in here, have a whole bunch of clips here, right? And what you're seeing here are proxy or preview files generated by the server in the cloud. So I mentioned this in the beginning. For those of you who joined later, whenever content gets ingested into the LucidLink file space, and more specifically into my project here, or into a project, the system automatically recognizes that content and creates these low bitrate proxy files for visual search, right? So you have everything that's on your LucidLink file space always visible at any time, right? And now we can just go here. We can say, okay, I want to import maybe these two clips here. So we just right-click, hit import, and we can import them right away. Will be immediately dropped inside our Premiere project. Here we go. And this is how we start editing. We could also reveal this in Finder, right? If we wanted to directly from here, this would show us exactly where on the LucidLink file space this media is located. So let me just move these clips here into the footage directory because there's some other stuff that I would like to show you. So another thing, and this is something that that you will specifically see as a problem when working in the cloud, right? So when you have a lot of people working on content, people will do random stuff, right? Ideally they will work off their LucidLink file space, but they will maybe accidentally drag and drop local media files into their projects, which is a bad thing because if somebody else opens that same project elsewhere, then that media is offline. So within Skies, and specifically in Premiere here, we have this mechanism that has the sexy name, find unmanaged assets. And what I can do here is I can simply maybe take a couple of files here and just drag and drop them directly into my timeline. These files are on my desktop here. They're in this folder called Mojo Material, right? So yeah, okay. So the files are now on my desktop, and that's obviously not good for anybody else who wants to open this project, So the panel, the Skies panel here, already recognized that this media that I just imported is not centrally managed on my Lucid file space. So if I click here on more options, we can immediately see that this Pexels, I'm not reading that name, but that video that I just imported is unmanaged or considered unmanaged. So what I can do is I can simply checkbox this, hit import, and now in the background, this file will be copied from my local computer in a project on the Lucid file space. And also the path in Premiere will be relinked to the new location. So we're no longer pointing to Marco's local desktop, but we're pointing to the file that is sitting on the Lucid file space. This can all be automated. This is a very common question. So inside our admin area, you can actually say, hey, this should be an automation. And then whenever people ingest local media into their projects, then these files will automatically be brought to the file space in the background, and we'll structure them by date folders then in the back end of all of this. So yeah, by the way, this panel that you're seeing here in front of you is also available for After Effects, right? So you have that same workflow in there. And then of course, when we're getting into search a little bit more, so you can do a lot of things from here. You could, for example, say, okay, I want to double click on this item here to get a larger preview, right? If the asset has markers, so you can also add markers within Strawberry Skies on these clips, then these markers will also be imported into Adobe Premiere and into After Effects, which is really great, for this particular workflow. So as we're going into search a little bit more, I've mentioned earlier, and I'm going back to the client application just to make this more visible. So when I select this project here, Wonka Magic Hour Session, you can see on the right-hand side is all the metadata that we have assigned to this one earlier. And now I can just, go to any metadata. I could click here on Wonka, for example. This will show me all the projects that are specific to Wonka. I could click on advertising. This will show me all the projects that are specific to advertising, right? So with this really cool search functionality here, where you could just enter like a product ID or a client name of yours, and this will show you all the projects in that context. The other aspect of the search is the asset search. So when I click on here, it will show me all the files that live in the projects that I have access to, right? Again, this is all scoped within my permissions, right? And from here, I can do these searches where I can say, yeah, I'm looking for maybe some spaghetti here, right? Just type in spag, not even the whole word, and immediately these items come up. We are not only searching by name here, we are also searching in the XMP metadata, XML metadata of these files. We are also taking the folder path into consideration where these files live, right? And then also the project metadata. So let's say I have no idea what the name of the clip is, but I know we did this for Wonka, right? So I'm just entering the name of the client here. And as you can see, it's not super exciting, the results here, but as you can see, I'm immediately getting all the clips or all the files that are in projects that we have created for our client, Wonka Industries. So this is just a little bit of a, of an overview of the search here. Of course, you have additional search filters where you can say, okay, I only want to search inside very specific locations. For example, right now my search is searching through online projects and archive projects. I'm searching through infinity here, right? So, till the beginning of time. And I'm searching by any status. So what you can do here is you could also say, well, you know what, I'm only interested in projects that are in the archive. So I can just right click here and now it shows me only projects that are in the archive. I will talk about archiving in just a little bit. But then when we go here to the asset search, for example, I could also make the search more sophisticated by saying, you know what, I'm not interested in generic files and I'm not interested in audio files. I only want to see images and videos, or maybe only videos in this case here, right? And then I could also say, okay, I'm only interested in videos that, that have markers, for example. So I only want to search in markers, or I only want to search in custom metadata or in technical metadata. So you have all these capabilities here directly from this user interface. Okay, cool. So in the next step, I would like to quickly show you the archive, and then we go into Avid Media Composer. So to archive something from here is super straightforward. We just select a project that we want to archive, like this one here, for example. We right-click on the project and we say send to archive. So now, because projects in our world are containers that always include the project and the media files, we are basically archiving the thing as a whole, right? So this is not about, okay, I have to collect now all the files that I want to archive and make sure that everything ends up in the archive. You basically just right-click on a project here, say send to archive. This will wrap up all the files that belong to the project and then offer you these archive strategies here. And this is just an example of supported archives. As you can see, we support AWS or Backblaze or the LucidLink basic offering, of course, or Wasabi. So you can basically configure this by yourself, right? An archive endpoint. And in this case, we say, okay, this should go to AWS as free, for example, right? And then, of course, in AWS, I could have additional policies that then tier this project further down to, for example, instant retrieval, and then maybe to Glacier, right? Deep archive. So I select AWS, I hit confirm, and now this project is traveling to the archive. This was quick, of course, because that's a small project. And now you can see on the left-hand side, we have this little icon that indicates visually that this project is in the archive. On top of this, I also got a notification here that says archival to AWS as free was successful for the project Stark Industries demo, right? So this is how you archive a project. And by the way, this is also how you can restore a project from the archive very easily. You just select a project, you say retrieve, and it will pull the project back from that archive back to your LucidLink, production file space, and then you can immediately continue working with the project. It's like the easiest possible way, I think, to get stuff into and out of the archive. On another note here, and this is one more fancy trick, this is why I left Premiere open. So you can actually see here that in the back end, I have some of these archive projects, right? Like this one or this one. You know what? Let's bring back the filter that says search through archive projects only. So we are just have archive projects now here visible in front of us. And now from here, I want to dive into this project here maybe, see what's in here. And oh yeah, we want this clip back from the archive, right? You can also see that this clip has this little shoebox icon here in the lower left corner, which of course indicates that this one is in the archive. So now very easily, we can just right click on here. We can say, I want to import this into my project and says, hey, do you want to restore this from the archive? Might take some time, sure thing. Here we go, we click yes. And now it's pulling that asset back from our Wasabi or AWS or LucidLink Basic. And now you can see this asset is now available directly here on my LucidLink file space, ready to go, right? So you can also see that this asset has markers. So, somebody has added markers at some point here, and these are also imported. By the way, so these markers were added not in Premiere, but in the Strawberry Skies user interface. And then when we import the asset, these markers follow alongside into Premiere. So we're not losing any information when we do this kind of stuff here. Okay, I know this was a lot of information. So I'd say let's wrap up the Premiere part here real quick. So what we've shown is how to set up a project, how to access the project within Premiere or After Effects. As I said, the panel is available for both. Having that metadata structure in place, having the permissions in place, puppeteering the LucidLink file space in the backend in terms of these permissions so that you don't have to manage permissions in multiple places. And if you want to change permissions after the fact, super easy. You just go back here to the client application. We select the magic hour session, click on the project access tab here, and now we can say, okay, my freelancer, Andrew Freelance, should have access to the project too. Now Andrew gets a notification in app or email, and he can log in, sees the project too, and can start working with it right away. Okay, so this is the part that covers Premiere. So let's actually close Premiere with Premiere, and let's have a quick look into Avid Media Composer, because that's always exciting, specifically like with cloud storage, right? So we're closing this project here. We just hit the close button. There we go. It asks us, are you sure you want to close the project? Am I? Yeah, I think I am. Okay, so let's close the project. So I'm not going through the entire process of creating a project again. We have shown this earlier. For those who have joined a little bit later, there is this, see, now I'm going through the process again. But for those who have joined a little bit later, basically whenever I create a project, I can define metadata for this project. I can, set up a template for these projects and, and assign permissions. And then when the project gets created, these permissions, these metadata, these templates are immediately applied on the project, not only in Skies, but also on the LucidLink file space. So again, I'm not going through the entire process because I have already prepared an Avid project in here. And what we're going to do now is we just open the project, right? So we click on the open button right here. And what this will do in the background is it will give us like a few additional volumes in our Finder. So if we go back here and we have a look here, you can first of all see there is a volume that's called Avid project files. So this one is only hosting the Avid project, like the AVP, AVB files, so everything that is basically not media, right, in the world of Avid. And then you can see we're mounting a dedicated workspace, and I'm saying workspace because the Avid folks know then what I'm talking about usually. And this is the media workspace, right? So you can see the Avid media files folder is sitting right here on the top, which is a requirement for Media Composer, of course, right? And this project is now accessible. Of course, I could open up multiple Avid projects at the same time, right? And then I would just get additional volumes here for the media files. And inside Avid project files, I would also get like these additional project files. We have the same functionality for Windows, of course, right? So the whole, Media Composer bin locking workflow that I'm about to show you here is also available for Windows, right? Okay, so we are opening up Media Composer, and this is usually the part that takes the longest. So maybe while we're doing this, for a second, you'll probably ask me, I think I still have a trial here. most likely. There we go. Yeah, let's try. Okay. So while Media Composer is starting, so these volumes, these additional volumes that you're seeing here, so in reality, these are folders on the LucidLink file space in the backend. We're just remounting them basically on this machine here, and they emulate a Nexus file system in the backend, right? So the moment we are starting Media Composer and we're diving into this project, Media Composer recognizes, oh, okay, you know, I'm interacting here with a Nexus-like file system, and then Media Composer goes into bin locking mode, right? So what this means is that multiple people can open up that same project at the same time, given they have permissions within Skies, and then they can collaborate just like they would do on an on-premises storage, but you know, maybe hundreds of miles away from each other. So you can see Media Composer by default is pointing to /volume/Avid project files, which is the volume that Skies has created as the default volume where you can expect the project files to sit once you have opened up the project. And now we can just double click here on this Avid project. This will launch the Avid project in Media Composer. And then here you can immediately see that all of our files are popping up. This is not a sophisticated sequence. I have prepared this earlier. But the main takeaway here is, I guess, that you can immediately see that we have this green padlock icon up here, which indicates that Media Composer is now in project sharing and bin locking mode, which again indicates that if somebody else opens up this project and then specifically this bin here, which is called footage, they will see a red padlock icon here, which means it's locked for them, it's read-only for them, but it's writable for me. So this whole workflow that you're familiar with from Nexus in terms of, you know, lock functionality, this is also then available right in here, with the added benefit of proper permission control and visibility. Because another thing that we do here for Media Composer workflows is, as we have a look here in this project from our user interface, you can see here's the Avid Media Files folder, MXF, and then we have like these, not 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, but these like computer name folders. So we are also generating proxies here for these Avid media files, right? And if you're familiar with Media Composer, then you probably know that if you're importing media into Media Composer, it will typically generate like one file per track, right? So we have a video track and a few audio tracks, so it will, you know, create separate files for these. So our proxy encoding engine recognizes which of these files belong together, so you can simply go in here and select what files to display. And you can also add comments in here, so these are definitely hands. So that's a great comment. And then I've mentioned this earlier, but I just want to show this real quick. We also have this annotation view here where you can apply time-accurate commentary here directly on a per frame basis, right? So you could actually go here and I can say, okay, add direct. So I'm mentioning my colleague here now. Please use this shot, right? So direct gets an in-app notification or an email notification. And then he can actually like reply, you know, do these changes, reply. And once we're all happy, we just mark this one he has completed. And then this one is completed. So I'm still scratching the surface here a little bit. It's funny, right? So I was talking now for like 20 minutes or so, but I think like the takeaway here is that, you know, first of all, we're managing this entire production for you, and these can be very complex productions with a lot of people involved, right? And we're giving you just like this framework that helps you to manage all of this on a user level, on a metadata level, on a storage level. But then on top of this, we give you additional functionality for archival workflows, right? So that you can tier these projects to lower cost archive storage as you see fit, and then also bring them back. But then, of course, also we give you the ability to share, to collaborate directly from here, from within the Skies app by creating email share links, for example, directly from the app. So you can, you know, hey, I want to show this to my manager, you know, just send out a review link. Or we can also set up what we call galleries. I'm not going into much detail, which are basically showrooms where you can say, okay, I'm creating like a gallery for my client. I'm inviting my client to the gallery. And then I'm sharing like a whole bunch of content with a client. And then I have like a dedicated point in this user interface where I can interact with my client by comments, like I just showed you, right? Time code accurate markers, et cetera, et cetera. Okay, so I think from my perspective, we should be in a good shape. Is there maybe a question that I can answer here that
Marco, there's been quite a few questions that we'll
Yeah, I'm not seeing them. Sorry.
we'll get to it in the Q&A. Yeah,
Okay.
we'll get to it in the Q&A.
Okay. Perfect. Cool. Yeah.
Thanks,
So with that said, so maybe as a last kind of like, I know this is typically works the other way around, but as a last thing here, I would just like to show you like the architecture of skies. I know that's not super interesting for everybody, but I think for some it is. So we're just pulling this up here real quick. And this is like a high-level architecture diagram, like how this works actually, right? So you can see down here, we have our users, which are our Premiere, After Effects, Resolve, Pro Tools, you name it, and our review and approval users. We have the Skies platform, which is basically the hub on which the actual magic is happening, right? So this is where the users are logging in. This is where the compute is, that creates these proxy files, indexes all of these of the media. And then of course the underlying that is basically holding all of this data is LucidLink. And this actually enables us to do these like distributed workflows with users in different locations, while Skies is driving all of the user interactions, permissions, metadata interactions, etc. Okay, Derek, I think I stopped talking now. Is your screen sharing enabled? So then I would, sorry.
Yes, so I'm actually sharing my screen. Can you all see my screen now?
Yes, can.
Wonderful.
Yes.
Well, thank you, Marco. I think we're going to go into some Q&A, and as Derek said, there's quite a few questions specifically about strawberry skies.
Oh, that's coincidentally very
Oh,
interesting.
excuse me. Sorry, we're going into a case study first. My apologies. I'm jumping the gun here.
Okay,
Good thing.
not a problem.
This is why we have slides.
That's right. So it's all part of the magic, right? So super quick. We thought it'd be helpful to kind of illustrate an example of someone how they implemented this in a real world case. Now I know for those of you who aren't based in Europe, you may not have heard of this company TUI, but they're actually one of the largest travel agencies in the world. And they have a very sizable content creation business as a part, internally, basically creating, things like brochures, marketing materials, but also videos and web marketing content. And they were really struggling with supporting the mobility of those teams going around to different resorts and gathering material. But also they had strategically decided to go to a cloud first model and move away from their physical data centers. And that worked great. They signed this great deal with Amazon, and they took all of their different services and uploaded into the cloud right up until they got into creative services. And they realized that it simply wouldn't work without some kind of framework to structure their teams. So we got actually connected with them through AWS. And essentially what we did was we worked with them, designed a Skies solution for them that unified their creative production, not just video production, but also the other creative applications and the review and approvals as well, and enabled them to take their core teams, which are not just based in one location, but multiple locations, and have all of them work off of a structured framework hosted by us in the cloud with 20 terabytes of LucidLink custom file spaces that are running in AWS. They were really ecstatic with what came out of that in the results. Both being able to unify the cross-border collaboration, but also the fact that it enabled them to drastically speed up their productions, because all the upload and download times went away, but also they didn't have all those stops in their workflows of having to wait for someone to do this. They basically had a coherent project interface for everything. So one of the things that they did, and Matt, if you can jump to the next slide for me, please. They were nice enough to share with me their internal sales email to try and get new users onto the platform who hadn't heard of the platform yet. And it was just awesome to see them kind of selling Skies to their people, because I think they do a better job of marketing than I do. But basically, these are their words on the slide, is that Skies enabled them to collaborate beyond borders and with structure, not just having the cloud storage, but also to have that collaboration of teams beyond those borders. And they really appreciated the robust security model, Strawberry, and Skies, that we could have freelancers that just come in only gaining access to the specific projects and the specific storage for those projects that they're allowed to see, and that it all paired into their Active Directory so that it was all automatic and all integrated. And they appreciate the efficiency and speed of it because they weren't then having to, again, the download, upload times were prohibitive, and obviously LucidLink can help with that. But being able to efficiently upload things into a structure was the key thing for them. That then they weren't having to then go and ask people where someone uploaded material to. And then they love the application independence of it. That, for instance, if that freelancer comes around the corner and he wants to use Media Composer, they don't have to completely create a brand new system from scratch for him. They can use the same structure, project interface, regardless of the application. And so they always said that was unlocking their creativity, which I thought was kind of cool. Then they appreciate the predictable cost model as well, that we don't charge egress. So egress is included in the Skies application, especially when you're working with the advanced LucidLink file spaces. So they don't get shocked at the end of the month with the egress bill from particular vendors. So I hope that use case makes sense in the context of what we've been discussing, what Marco.
Uh-oh, I think we lost him.
Derek, I think we lost you there.
But it's a funny freeze frame. Okay, maybe
it is a good freeze frame, yes.
maybe we're going into the Q&A.
Yes, and there's definitely, Derek will join us as soon as possible, or he will rejoin us. Marco, can you see some of these questions in our Q&A panel? There's some excellent ones about strawberry skies.
Yeah, can you maybe read them to me, and I can
Absolutely.
Awesome.
The first question is, can we get a pricing idea or structure for Strawberry on-prem and Strawberry skies?
Okay, this is usually the part that Derek handles, but of course, conveniently, he's not here. I would say, like, let's pick this up. Let's pick this up later. You can write an email either to me, Marco at Projective.io, or to Derek at Projective.io very easily, and we can give you pricing related information there. Oh, here he is.
Just in time.
Let's connect him. Yeah, let's have him connected. We're going into further questions. Hey, Derek, here you are. Yeah.
Welcome back.
You guys asked some great questions that I'm not going to answer.
Conveniently, you just derped out when the pricing questions came in, right? So, so one of the question was like, give us an idea about like the skies portion and also the on-prem portion of the system. So, can you speak to this right now, or?
Yeah, so we weren't planning on showing a price list to everyone in an open format, but I can give you some orders of magnitude. The product can start in the kind of $1,000 a month range and scales up to quite a bit more than that for more enterprise rollouts. Kind of standard implementations. You remember this? There's a LucidLink storage component. There's the server component. There's typically some onboarding that has to happen as well. So some of the average rollouts can kind of be in the kind of 30 to 50 range and annual license, but obviously there's some larger customers and smaller customers in that.
Okay.
Wonderful. Next question, also regarding Strawberry. For Strawberry, are your customers using Strawberry with an integration to their existing MAM solution?
Yes.
Can I go that, Marco?
Yeah, sure.
So yeah, as Marco said, yes. And this is actually a very common use case. A lot of our enterprise customers around the world, like Disney or Turner or like SBS or NHK in Japan, they all have corporate MAM products that are designed to be that single source of truth and orchestrate the flow of media through the facility. But those don't typically help with the actual dirty project process. So basically, those customers that I mentioned all saw a need to have the production asset management layer, the Strawberry collaboration layer for their projects alongside their corporate MAM. And basically what that enables them to do is bring in, orchestrate the flow of media from the man into Strawberry projects, and assign users on a scheduling basis and things like this. There's a lot of upstream and downstream integrations that are possible.
Cool. Thanks, Derek.
Next one is also Strawberry Skies related. What are Strawberries using for archive storage? Do you mean another object storage bucket without LucidLink? And does Strawberry manage moving the media between buckets or blobs? These are all good questions.
Yeah, this is a very good question. So this is a two-part question, right? So first of all, you can actually you can bring your own object storage, right? So if you already are bought into AWS or Wasabi, yeah, and I'm talking about S3 protocol here, right? You can basically hook these up to Skies, and then Skies will archive to these destinations. So yes, you can bring your own object storage, but you can also have a LucidLink basic file space, right? So this really depends up to you. And then I just lost the second part here of that question, right? Not sure what is what.
Sorry, let me go back to it. The second part was, does Strawberry manage moving the media between buckets or blobs?
So we're managing the movement of media between, of course, your LucidLink file space and your archive endpoint, back and forward, right? But then within your archive, like in your AWS account, we don't move between these object storage. However, first of all, in AWS, of course, you could set up these policies. We have a function. I'm contradicting myself. We have a function within the product that's called move archive, where you could actually say, okay, I want to move this particular project from this archive that is currently in to this other archive I have configured. So yes, you can have multiple archive endpoints configured in one Strawberry Skies system, and then Skies can actually move projects between these endpoints. But the traffic always does not go directly from endpoint to endpoint, but through the Skies servers.
Thank you. Here's another one, this time from the regular chat. Is there an option to archive to an on-prem SAN?
Okay, maybe Derek, you want to take this?
Sure. So there was another question. I don't know if you guys answered it while I was away about integrating between a cloud-based Skies instance and a Strawberry on-premise instance. Did you guys field that already?
No.
I don't think so.
So let me field that. so there was a question where some very smart person asked about, okay, so if we're coming from an on-premise world and we have a LucidLink, this cloud-based world, is there ability to kind of manage the flow of projects between the two? And basically, yes, that what we are, we'll be releasing very soon is what we call the Strawberry multi-site architecture, where you can basically have a Strawberry instance in an on-premise system and a Skies instance running a LucidLink cloud, and you can manage them centrally and control the flow of projects between the on-premise and the LucidLink system. And with that in mind, what that would also enable you to do is have your big on-premise archive that you already have in place. If it's managed by Strawberry, you can basically archive projects from the cloud instance into the on-premise instance, and then of course move those off into the on-premise archive as well. But the cool thing is that could all be managed from a central interface, so you can manage the flow of content and projects between the two, really optimizing both your on-premise footprint and your cloud footprint.
Yeah.
I hope I answered both questions.
It sounded like this. Can the archive storage include LTO?
So So I got that.
No. Take this one. No, you're in the archive topic now, so don't steal your thunder. Go, Derek.
Yeah. So we never have done LTO tape writes. There's technology called LTFS that we can mount like a file system, and of course we could write to those tapes. But really, when you're talking about that, you're typically working with some like HSM tool, like for instance, like Ingenia from Pixit, or like Archiware, or something like Accumulate, or Zendata, Object Matrix, and we have integrations with many of those tools. So.
Yep.
Hope that answers your question.
So
the cool thing, and please keep in mind, please keep in mind the very cool thing about when we're doing archival like that is those proxy previews that we create as just visual, guides to what's there. They're still viewable, searchable. The metadata is still valid, so you can still search and browse and view the contents of the archive just like you could primary. So that to those users, the archive is no longer a black hole. They can freely browse and view the content of the archive without needing to go to some separate MAM application just for an archive.
Excellent. There's one more question. I see LucidLink in the Azure Marketplace. Is Strawberry Skies available in Azure?
That's a very good question. No, it's not. It's not. No, we haven't done like standard deployments yet. So right now this is deployed through Docker, right? It's a Dockerized deployment that we can run. Again, that we are running in our own infrastructure. We are also offering Strawberry with LucidLink support for customers who want to self-deploy in their own cloud. So we can also provide Dockerized deployments for this, but we don't have the marketplace applications yet.
Looks like we have another one. Follow up on the LTO front. If I have LTO with proxy on-prem, can you restore high-res to the local storage?
If it's like Strawberry, we can manage what is in the archive that we that we are managing. That happens automatically, right? So you can restore the high-res LTO, either individual files or entire projects from the archive. But what I want to make sure that you realize is we can basically do that for content that's in our database, in our control, right? So if you're looking to probably do something with an existing archive, then it becomes a little bit more of a system design and kind of migration discussion that's a bit more involved for a magic hour. You probably need a magic day to go into that.
I like that magic day.
That's a new idea, Matt, right? Go for it.
That can be done.
Let's do it Sundays.
Exactly. Well, I think we're almost at time. I want to thank everyone for coming again for this very exciting and very special inaugural kickoff of LucidLink Magic Hour. I want to say thank you to the team from Projective, Derek and Marco. Loved having you on the show. You're going to have to come back. You're going to have to come back and make a repeat appearance. Would love that.
We will. I love it.
And we can certainly talk about how things change and evolve for Strawberry Skies. Before I wrap, I just want to remind everyone that we are doing some kind of live event every week on Thursdays. Once a month will be a guest host, such as Projective, who will come on the show and talk about workflows, whatever they're passionate about. And the other Thursdays, I will personally be giving live demos at 12 p.m. New York time, 9 a.m. Los Angeles time. If you have questions about anything related to LucidLink, if you're new to it, if you're an old timer, and everything in between, please do not hesitate to join. This is my email address. Don't hesitate to send me an email at matt.schneider@lucidlink.com. Of course, Marco and Derek are available for any questions that you may have about Strawberry Skies. I also want to conclude by wishing everyone a very happy summer. Today is the first day. Have a safe and fun summer, and please send us your questions, your emails, your thoughts. We are always open and happy to hear from you. Also, if you have any requests for Magic Hour, a particular guest artist, a particular tool, a particular workflow, please email that to me at matt.schneider@lucidlink.com. And I can pretty much guarantee that you're going to get your wish fulfilled, because we are very excited about all the stuff that we're going to be doing as part of Magic Hour. And it just so happens that we're at the top of hour. So Magic Hour is actually an hour, which is fun too. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining. Thanks again to Projective. Everyone have a lovely summer.
Thanks, guys. Bye.